They're not smarter than you. They're not more talented than you, but they do think differently. And that difference? That's the invisible line between those who build empires and those who work for them. You want to know the truth? Most people are mentally trained to lose before they even start. They've been taught to think like the 99%, to stay safe, stay small, stay predictable. But billionaires, they play an entirely different game. And the scariest part? That game is available to you right now, if you're willing to unlearn everything you've been told about success. Before we go deeper, if you've ever felt like there's more inside you, like you were meant for something greater, hit that subscribe button. This video might be the one that wakes you up. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people talk about the rich? They're greedy. They got lucky. They were born into it. These aren't just opinions. They're mental prisons. The system is designed to keep you thinking like a victim. Because as long as you see money as evil, as long as you see billionaires as the enemy, you never give yourself permission to become one. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. Your beliefs about money determine how much of it you'll ever have. Let that sink in. If you believe money is hard to make, guess what? It'll be hard. If you believe money corrupts people, guess what? You'll subconsciously sabotage yourself every time you get close to wealth. This is why two people can grow up in the same city, go to the same school, have the same background, and one ends up building a billion-dollar company, while the other struggles to pay rent. It's not luck, it's thinking. Let me give you a story. Howard Schultz grew up in a housing complex for the poor. His father was a truck driver who never made more than $20,000 a year. Howard could have believed that success wasn't for people like him, but instead, he thought differently. He walked into a small coffee shop in Seattle and saw not just coffee, but possibility. That mindset turned into Starbucks. That mindset made him a billionaire. You don't attract wealth by hustling harder. You attract it by aligning your mind with it, by asking the right questions. The 99% ask, how can I save money? The 1% ask, how can I multiply it? See the difference? Saving comes from a scarcity mindset. Multiplying comes from an abundance. And that shift in thinking, it's the foundation of wealth. But it gets deeper. Because the real transformation begins when you stop chasing money and start becoming the kind of person money is drawn to. Billionaires don't chase money, they attract it. Because they've trained their minds to focus on value, not effort, not hours, not labor. Value. Let me give you another angle. There are two types of people in the world, consumers and creators. The 99% consume. They scroll, they binge, they buy. The 1% create. They build, they invent, they invest. Here's the hard pill. If you're not building, you're being used to build someone else's dream. So what makes someone shift from consumer to creator? One thing, vision. Vision is what gives the 1% the power to endure ridicule, rejection, and risk. It's what allows them to see beyond the current reality and act on what could be. Think of Elon Musk. When he talked about colonizing Mars, people laughed. When he built Tesla, they said he'd fail. But vision isn't about being understood. It's about seeing what others can't and backing it with relentless belief. And here's where most people give up. They want success, but they're not willing to be misunderstood for years. They want freedom, but they still crave approval. Billionaires play the long game. They don't chase comfort, they chase impact. Here's a wild stat. The average millionaire has 7 income streams, but most people rely on one, their job. Why? Because the system never taught them how to create. It taught them to comply. That's why billionaire thinking isn't about how much you have. It's about how you see yourself. You see, wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your identity. The moment you stop calling yourself broke and start calling yourself a builder, your behavior changes. Your energy shifts. Your decisions sharpen. But you've got to kill the old narrative. The one that says, I'm not ready. The one that says, I don't have what it takes. That's not truth. That's conditioning. Let me show you something powerful. The world doesn't reward hard work alone. It rewards leverage. The 1% don't just work harder. They work smarter. They use systems, people, capital, technology. They ask, what can I create once that pays me forever? That's why they build businesses, write books, create software, license products. They plant trees that keep bearing fruit, while the 99% keep trading hours for dollars. And you can learn this. You don't need to be born into it. You need to be willing to think differently. Now here's your first mental shift. Stop asking, can I afford this? Start asking, how can I afford this? One closes the door, the other opens it. That simple shift activates your brain's most powerful force, creativity. And creativity is what built every fortune in history. So I'm going to challenge you. Don't just watch this video. Use it, reflect on it, pause it, replay it. Because this isn't just content. It's a mirror showing you who you've been trained to be and who you have the power to become. And in part 2, we're going deeper into the hidden beliefs that sabotage 99% of people without them even realizing it. The mental viruses that are infecting your goals, your relationships, your financial future. And more importantly, how to delete them. But before that, ask yourself, are you just going to watch the 1% rise, or are you ready to join them? Drop a comment with, I'm ready, if you feel that shift starting. And let's keep building.
If you're still here, it means something in you refuses to settle. You're not like most people, because most people hear the truth and scroll past it. But you're still listening. And that tells me everything I need to know about you. Now let's go even deeper. In part 1, we uncovered how your thoughts create your financial ceiling. In part 2, we're pulling the curtain back even further to expose the invisible lies you've been taught to believe, the ones that sound innocent, but are secretly designed to keep you broke. And once you see them, you'll never unsee them. Before we dive in, if this is already shifting the way you think, share it with someone who needs it. Billionaire thinking isn't just for you, it's contagious. Let me tell you the truth most motivational speakers won't. Your brain was not built to make you rich. It was built to keep you safe. And that's the problem. Because the part of your brain that wants to protect you is the same part that freaks out every time you try to grow. That voice that says, don't start that business. Don't ask for that raise. Don't post that idea online. That's not your intuition. That's your survival software. It's trying to keep you in your comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is misery. And here's where the sabotage begins. Your subconscious mind is constantly writing code in the background, code based on what you see and hear every day. If you grew up hearing, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that, rich people are selfish, your subconscious filed that away as truth. And now, decades later, it's still running that same broken script. So every time you try to rise, that outdated programming pulls you back down. Let me give you a personal example. I knew a guy, brilliant, disciplined, had everything it took to succeed. But every time he started making real money, he'd blow it. Bad investments, random vacations, unnecessary upgrades. Why? Because deep down, he didn't believe he deserved to be rich. He'd been told his whole life that money makes people evil. So when he finally got some, his mind panicked and found ways to lose it. This isn't rare. This is common. Most people aren't afraid of failure. They're afraid of what success would change about their life. They're afraid of outgrowing their friends, afraid of losing approval, afraid of becoming someone their family no longer recognizes. But let me say this as clearly as I can. You cannot become the 1% while thinking like the 99%. You have to rewrite the code. And here's how you start. Step 1. Interrogate your beliefs. Next time you catch yourself thinking, "That's too expensive, I could never do that, I'm not ready," ask yourself, who taught me that? Did that belief come from someone living the life you want or someone surviving the life you're trying to escape? If it didn't come from someone you aspire to be, why are you still obeying it? Step 2. Upgrade your environment. The fastest way to change your life is to change what you consume. If you're constantly around broke conversations, watching broke content, following broke people on social media, guess what you'll become? It's not just about motivation. It's about mental proximity. You don't need to meet a billionaire to start thinking like one. You just need to consume the content that reflects their mindset. Books, podcasts, interviews, long-form videos like this. Because the more time you spend hearing billionaire thoughts, the more those thoughts become yours. Now, let's get into the next layer of billionaire thinking. It's what I call emotional risk tolerance. See, most people never make bold moves, not because they don't have the skills, but because they can't handle the emotions that come with risk. Fear, shame, embarrassment, judgment. But billionaires, they're masters of emotion. They feel the same fear you do, but they don't make decisions from it. They make decisions from vision. They're not ruled by feelings. They're ruled by values. Let me give you an example. Jeff Bezos left a high-paying Wall Street job to start an online bookstore in the 90s. Everyone thought he was nuts. He had no guarantee of success, but he had a framework. He asked himself, when I'm 80, will I regret not trying this? That's billionaire thinking. Playing the long game, making decisions based on regret minimization, not fear avoidance. Ask yourself, what opportunities have you ignored just because they scared you? What ideas have you killed just because they weren't safe? And what if those exact ideas were the key to your next level? Here's another billionaire principle you need to absorb: decisiveness. The 1% make fast decisions, not reckless, but fast, because they understand that indecision is a dream killer. Most people wait until they feel ready. Newsflash, you'll never feel ready. If you wait for certainty, you'll be waiting your entire life. And that's why most people die full of potential. Billionaires don't need certainty. They need clarity. And once they see a path that aligns with their vision, they move. Fast, bold, decisive. So here's a challenge for you right now. What's one decision you've been avoiding? A phone call you need to make, a project you need to start, a relationship you need to leave. Do it, because your destiny is hiding behind that decision. The life you want isn't on the other side of hard work. It's on the other side of alignment. And that means aligning your beliefs, your environment, your emotions, and your actions with where you want to go. Don't say, "I'll think about it." That's what the 99% say. Say, "I'm deciding now," and act. In part 3, we're going even further. We'll break down the actual daily routines and mental habits of billionaires, what they do differently every morning, how they plan their time, and how you can reverse engineer their rituals into your own life. But until then, comment below. What's one lie you've been taught about money and are now ready to release? Let's get real. Let's reprogram. Let's rise.
Let's get tactical. You've started to shift your beliefs. You've questioned the old programming. But now, let's zoom in on what billionaires actually do. What makes their day-to-day so radically different? Because billionaire thinking isn't just about mindset. It's about mental habits, daily rituals, tiny, consistent behaviors that compound into massive success. And guess what? These habits aren't reserved for the elite. You don't need $1 million bank account to start thinking like the 1%. You just need intentionality. If this video is lighting a fire in you, hit the like button. It helps this message reach more people like you who are ready to level up. Let's start with the first and most underrated billionaire habit: clarity of purpose. Most people wake up reactive. No plan, no intention. They grab their phone, scroll through notifications, check emails, and instantly, their mind is hijacked by other people's priorities. Billionaires, they wake up with purpose. They know exactly what their North Star is, and every day they move one step closer to it. Jeff Bezos once said, "If I make 3 good decisions a day, that's enough." 3, not 30. Why? Because clarity eliminates noise. It helps you say no to everything that doesn't move the needle. So here's your first challenge. Every morning, before you check your phone, ask, what are the 3 decisions I need to make today that move me closer to the life I want? Write them down. Then guard your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. Now let's talk about time. Most people spend time. Billionaires invest it. If you looked at the calendar of a typical millionaire versus a billionaire, here's what you'd notice. Millionaires fill their days with meetings, tasks, errands, busy work. Billionaires, their schedules are surprisingly open because they protect their thinking time. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading and thinking. Elon Musk time blocks his day into 5-minute chunks. Oprah schedules daily time for reflection, silence, or journaling. Why? Because the real breakthroughs don't happen when you're busy. They happen when you create space to think. Let me say this loud. Your calendar reflects your values, and if it's always full of things that drain you instead of grow you, you're not busy, you're stuck. So here's your next shift. Schedule time to think. Literally. Block it off like a meeting. Protect it. And during that time, ask yourself high-value questions. Where is my energy going right now? What am I doing that no longer serves my vision? What's the one thing I could do this week that would move everything else forward? That's how billionaires stay ahead. They don't work harder. They think clearer. Now let's go deeper into the morning routines. Because what you do in the first 90 minutes of your day sets the tone for everything else. Most people hit snooze, scroll TikTok, and go into autopilot. But billionaires engineer their mornings for performance. Here's a common pattern. 1. Movement. Whether it's a walk, stretch, gym session, movement activates your body and primes your brain. Tony Robbins jumps into a freezing cold plunge every morning. Why? Shock the nervous system, reset his state. Ray Dalio credits transcendental meditation as his secret weapon for clarity under pressure. 2. Silence. Meditation, breathwork, journaling. This isn't woo-woo. This is mental armor. 3. Visualization. This is crucial. Billionaires visualize outcomes. They rehearse success in their mind before it ever happens in real life. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't become Mr. Olympia by accident. He saw the trophy in his mind every day, long before he held it. You want a different life? You have to see it before you build it. Here's your challenge. Design your first 90 minutes. Make it sacred. No phone, no distractions, only inputs that strengthen your mind, body, and vision. Now let's talk about one of the most important skills the 99% never master: focus. In a world of distraction, focus is a superpower, and billionaires treat it like gold. Steve Jobs said it best: focus is about saying no. Not yes, no. No to shiny objects. No to 1,000 good opportunities. No to anything that pulls you off mission. You don't need more hours in the day. You need less noise. Want to think like the 1%? Here's a brutal question. What are you willing to quit? Because success isn't just about what you start. It's about what you're willing to stop. Stop overcommitting. Stop chasing approval. Stop doing things just because you've always done them. The 1% are ruthless about energy management. They don't just protect their time, they protect their attention. Every yes has a cost, and if you keep saying yes to things that don't align, don't be surprised when your dream gets crowded out. Finally, let's hit a habit that almost every billionaire shares, but barely anyone talks about: learning. The 1% are obsessed with growth. They read, they ask questions, they hire mentors, they pay to be in rooms with smarter people. Because they know this law: your income will never outgrow your identity. If you want to make more, you have to become more. So here's a raw truth. If you're not learning every day, you're falling behind. Ask yourself, how much time am I spending on entertainment versus education? You say you want to be rich, but do your habits reflect that? It's not about grinding 20 hours a day. It's about aligning your routine with your future. Billionaire thinking isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. And you don't have to wait to be rich to act like it. Start now, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. And in Part 4, we're going to explore the inner battles billionaires face, the mental traps they face, the doubts they wrestle with, and how they stay unshakable while the world falls apart. Before you go, drop a comment. What's one billionaire habit you're committing to starting tomorrow? Own it, declare it, build it. Let's get real. We've talked about routines. We've talked about decisions. But now we're going to crack open something far more powerful: the battlefield inside your mind. Because here's what no one tells you. Even billionaires wrestle with doubt. Even the most successful people on the planet hear the same voices you do. Who do you think you are? What if you fail? What if they laugh at you? But here's the difference. They don't believe those voices. They've learned how to fight back, to take control of their inner world before it controls them. If you're getting value, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Someone you know might be one mental shift away from changing everything. Let's start here. The 1% understand that your mind is a tool, not a master. Most people are ruled by their emotions. They feel unmotivated, so they don't act. They feel afraid, so they shrink. They feel doubt, so they quit. But feelings are not facts, and billionaires know how to override their emotions with discipline. Take Kobe Bryant. Was he always motivated to train at 4 a.m.? No, but he wasn't looking for motivation. He was locked into a standard. That's the shift. The 99% rely on feelings. The 1% rely on identity. So let me ask you, are your actions driven by how you feel or by who you are becoming? Because when your identity is clear, your behavior becomes automatic. Say this out loud: I don't negotiate with my goals. That's how billionaires think. They don't hope it'll happen. They decide it will. And then they make their internal world match that decision. But that doesn't mean they never doubt themselves. every level of success comes with new pressure, new critics, new isolation, and yes, new fears. But the 1% don't avoid pressure. They seek it. Why? Because pressure is a sign of growth. Pressure means you're playing bigger. Pressure is the weight you lift to build the muscles of your mind. Here's the secret. Your mind will always choose the familiar over the best. It doesn't care if your habits are toxic, if your comfort zone is killing you, or if your beliefs are outdated. If it's familiar, your mind will cling to it. That's why growth feels like dying sometimes, because a part of you is dying. The part of you that was small, that made excuses, that played safe. So if you're feeling resistance right now, congratulations, you're on the right path. Now let's talk about one of the deadliest enemies of success, imposter syndrome. It shows up like this. You get a great opportunity, and suddenly you feel unworthy. You start leveling up, and a voice inside whispers, "You're a fraud." You post your ideas online and immediately think, "Who am I to say this?" Here's the truth. Imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're growing. Because the minute you start stepping into a higher version of yourself, your old identity panics. Billionaires experience this too. But here's what they've learned. You don't wait to feel ready. You act until you feel ready. Confidence isn't a prerequisite. It's a result. You think Elon Musk always knew what he was doing when launching rockets? You think Sarah Blakely never doubted herself when starting Spanx? No, they just kept showing up anyway. And over time, their courage compounded into confidence. That's the move. Courage before confidence. Show up scared. Show up uncertain. Show up imperfect. But show up anyway. Now let's talk about silence. Most people run from silence. They fill every moment with noise, music, podcasts, scrolling, because silence forces them to hear their own thoughts, and most people can't stand the sound of themselves. But billionaires, they crave silence, because silence reveals the truth. It exposes the thoughts that are running the show behind the scenes, the limiting beliefs, the hidden fears, the quiet self-sabotage. So they sit with it. They journal. They reflect. They confront. You want billionaire clarity? Turn off the noise. Sit with yourself. Ask the hard questions. Where am I playing small? What am I avoiding? What lie am I still believing about who I am? You don't fix what you won't face, and the 1% aren't afraid to face themselves. Now, here's the part most people skip: self-talk. The most successful people in the world coach themselves daily. They don't wait for someone to encourage them. They become their own motivator, their own strategist, their own accountability partner. When doubt shows up, they talk back. This fear is a sign of growth. I'm doing what most won't. I was built for this. Billionaire thinking is relentless. It's a war against the old version of you, and you fight it with words. Because the voice that dominates your mind controls your life. So let me ask you again, what are you telling yourself when nobody's watching? Here's a tool. Create a mental script. One paragraph. Write it down. Memorize it. Make it your new operating system. Something like, I am not my past. I am not my fears. I am not my limits. I am a builder. I'm becoming the version of me that my future requires. I'm not here to compete. I'm here to dominate. Say it daily. Say it when you don't believe it. Say it until it becomes your truth. Because your mind believes what you repeat, not what's real. So repeat power.
And in Part 5, we're unlocking one of the most powerful forces billionaires tap into: leverage. You'll learn how they use people, systems, money, and ideas to scale results while doing less, and how you can build your own empire without burning out. Before that, comment below. What's one toxic thought you're ready to delete from your life? Let's rewrite the code together.
You've done the deep inner work, rewiring beliefs, shifting your routine, and confronting your mind. Now let's talk about the part that actually builds empires. Because billionaires don't get rich by doing everything themselves. They don't win by hustling harder than everyone else. They win because they understand one word most people never master: leverage. Leverage is the ultimate cheat code. It's how the 1% get exponential results with less effort. It's how they build massive impact without burning out. And if you want to train your mind like the 1%, you have to stop thinking like a laborer and start thinking like a strategist. If this is shifting your perspective, drop a like. It tells the algorithm more people need to hear this. Let's break this down. There are 4 types of leverage billionaires use daily. 1. People. 2. Capital. 3. Systems. And 4. Code and content. And the more you master these, the less you have to rely on time and effort alone. Let's start with people. The 99% think, if I want it done right, I have to do it myself. That's a scarcity mindset. That belief will trap you in busyness forever. Billionaires? They delegate. They hire people smarter than them. They build teams. Think about it. Jeff Bezos didn't write every line of code for Amazon. Oprah didn't edit every episode herself. Steve Jobs didn't design the iPhone camera. They focused on vision and surrounded themselves with talent that could execute. So ask yourself, what are you still doing that someone else could do better? What's draining your energy that someone else could automate, outsource, or manage? You don't scale by doing more. You scale by doing less, but better. Next, capital. This is where the 99% freeze. They say, I don't have money to invest. And that's why they stay stuck. The 1%, they understand that money is a tool. And the goal isn't to save every penny. It's to put your money to work. While most people save to feel safe, billionaires invest to grow their influence, their assets, their reach. They buy into income-producing tools, startups, real estate, intellectual property, media. They're not just earning, they're multiplying. Even when they spend, they think in returns. If they invest $10,000 in a mastermind or a mentor, they're not thinking cost. They're thinking, what ROI can this create over the next 10 years? And here's the twist. They don't wait to have millions to think this way. They thought this way before they had it. So ask yourself, what if every dollar you earned had a job? Not just to sit in a bank account, but to bring back more soldiers. That's billionaire money psychology. Third, systems. This is where things get powerful. A system is anything that produces consistent results with minimal input. Most people run their lives on randomness. They rely on motivation, memory, or mood. Billionaires build systems so they don't have to rely on willpower. Here's a truth bomb. If you don't have a system, you don't have a strategy. Think about McDonald's. It's not the best burger in the world, but it's the best system. Ray Kroc didn't build a restaurant. He built a repeatable process. That's why it scaled across the globe. So how do you apply this? Simple. If you're a content creator, systematize your scripting, production, and publishing. If you're an entrepreneur, systematize sales, onboarding, and marketing. If you're building your personal life, systematize your habits, finances, health routines. Systems create freedom because you can't scale chaos. Every minute you invest in building a process pays you back for life.
And finally, the most modern form of leverage: code and content. Let's start with code. Software scales. Apps scale. Automation scales. That's why billionaires invest in tech. They know a single line of code built once can impact millions. But even if you're not a coder, here's the game changer: content. Content is digital real estate. You create once, it lives forever. You can speak to someone in New York, London, or Tokyo while you're asleep. Billionaires understand this. That's why Elon tweets. That's why Gary Vee documents. That's why Oprah runs her network. Content multiplies attention, and attention is the most valuable currency of the 21st century. So here's a shift. Stop consuming content only. Start creating it. Even if you have 10 followers, even if nobody's watching yet, every piece of content is a soldier working for your future. One post, one video, one idea can change your life. Now, here's the real kicker. Most people trade time for money. The 1% trade leverage for freedom. They don't ask, how can I make more per hour? They ask, how can I replace myself entirely? They zoom out. They think in systems. They think in decades. They build machines that make money without their presence. You can too. It starts with one question: how can I stop doing this manually? Then ask, can I teach someone to do it? Can I automate it with software? Can I turn it into content that works while I sleep? This is where life changes. Because once you taste leverage, you'll never go back to labor. In Part 6, we'll reveal the emotional intelligence that keeps billionaires grounded, how they deal with rejection, betrayal, criticism, and how they remain focused, calm, and unshakable while under fire. Because strategy without emotional control, it's useless. Until then, comment below, what's one area of your life you're ready to build leverage into? Let's engineer your escape from the grind together.
You've learned how billionaires think. You've seen how they build leverage, routines, and systems. But there's something even more powerful than strategy. Something that determines whether you actually apply what you know. It's your emotional intelligence. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because of lack of talent. They fail because they can't manage what's happening inside them. Billionaires, they face the same fears, the same critics, the same setbacks, but they've built something the 99 haven't: emotional resilience. Let's talk about it. If this resonates, leave a comment below. I lead my emotions. My emotions don't lead me. Say it. Own it. We'll start with the most common emotional trap: rejection. Rejection is inevitable. You pitch an idea, it gets ignored. You launch a product, it flops. You try something new, people don't get it. Here's what separates the 1%. They don't take it personal. They understand this rule: rejection is feedback, not identity. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers. Howard Schultz rejected by 242 investors for Starbucks. Walt Disney was fired because he lacked imagination. You don't become great by being liked. You become great by staying relentless. Here's what billionaires do when they hear no. They ask, why? They refine. They pivot. They persist. You must stop seeing rejection as proof you're not enough and start seeing it as a sign that you're in the arena. Next emotional trap: criticism. Billionaires are criticized constantly. The bigger your vision, the louder the resistance. But here's the mindset shift. Criticism is a scoreboard. If no one's criticizing you, you're not playing big enough. Oprah was told she was unfit for TV. Elon Musk is mocked daily online. Jeff Bezos was ridiculed for selling books on the internet. Critics are not a signal to stop. They're a signal that you're disrupting. Let them talk. You weren't built to be understood. You were built to build. Next up, betrayal. Let's go deeper, because the closer you get to success, the more real this becomes. People will doubt you. Some will leave. Some will take advantage of your kindness. It hurts. But billionaires don't let pain turn into bitterness. They turn it into fuel. You know what they realize? Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people were only assigned to one chapter of your story, not the whole book. So stop begging people to believe in you. Believe in yourself so deeply that it makes their doubt irrelevant. Use the betrayal, not to become cold, but to become clear. Here's a rule. Protect your heart, but don't close it. Stay kind, stay sharp, and keep building. Next trap, envy. This is one no one talks about, but in the age of Instagram, comparison is killing dreams. You see someone buying a Lambo at 25, and suddenly your own progress feels like failure. You see someone scaling faster, and you question your own path. But billionaires play a different game. They don't compare, they analyze. They see someone winning and ask, what are they doing that I'm not? What can I learn? How can I use that as evidence that it's possible for me? Here's the key. If you feel envy, it's because deep down you know you're capable of the same. You just haven't claimed it yet. Use envy as a mirror, not a measure. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Loneliness. Nobody tells you how lonely growth can feel. You're changing, evolving, and sometimes the people closest to you don't understand. They call you obsessed. They say, you've changed. And you know what? They're right. You have changed. You stopped settling. You started thinking bigger. You started acting like your future matters. And yes, it can feel lonely. But hear me. Loneliness is not a sign you're off path. It's a sign you're walking a path few have the courage to take. It won't always be this way. The more you rise, the more you'll attract others on the same frequency. People who challenge you, inspire you, see you. But until then, keep walking. Now let's shift into the billionaire's secret weapon, emotional regulation. This is the ability to respond, not react. When deals fall through, when people let them down, when the pressure is suffocating, the 1% don't panic, they pause. Because in business and in life, he who stays calm wins. You'll never be in control of everything around you, but you can always control your state. That's why billionaires meditate, journal, breathe, move their bodies. They're not being spiritual, they're being strategic. Because your emotions are not a weakness, they're a signal. And when you learn how to listen to them without being ruled by them, you become unshakable. So here's your challenge. Start a power pause routine. When stress hits, instead of reacting, ask, what's really triggering me? What outcome do I want? What would the highest version of me do right now? Then act from that version. Because that version, that's the real you, the builder, the leader, the architect. In Part 7, the final chapter, we'll bring it all together. You'll learn how billionaires craft vision that lasts, how they stay motivated for decades, not days, and how you can build a life so powerful it becomes ignorable. Before we go, tell me in the comments, I lead my emotions don't lead me. Say it. Own it.
This is it. The final piece. You've made it through the fire. You've confronted your thinking, challenged your habits, stared down your fears. Now comes the moment that separates the dreamers from the architects. Because billionaires aren't just disciplined. They're not just resilient or strategic. They are visionaries. and their vision doesn't flicker under pressure. It burns brighter. If you've come this far, this isn't entertainment anymore. This is alignment. So take a deep breath and let's lock in. Most people wake up each day trying to survive, pay the bills, answer emails, put out fires, repeat. But billionaires, they wake up with intention, not just for the day, but for the decade. They don't think in tasks, they think in legacy. Here's the first truth. If your vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Your vision should stretch you, should make your current self nervous, should demand a version of you that doesn't exist yet. You want to think like the 1%? Start building a vision that's bigger than your insecurities. Steve Jobs didn't want to build a better computer. He wanted to put a dent in the universe. Elon Musk isn't just making cars. He's building the future of humanity. And it's not about ego. It's about impact. So ask yourself this: what are you building that's bigger than you? Because when your vision is big enough, you stop getting distracted by small things. You stop playing defense. You stop reacting to criticism. You stop shrinking to fit the room. You build the room. But here's the paradox. Your vision must be massive, and it must be practical. Billionaires reverse engineer. They don't just dream, they map. They ask, what does my ideal life look like 10 years from now? Who do I need to become to live it? What decisions do I need to make this year to become that person? Then they break it down. This year equals 3 priorities. This quarter equals 3 projects. This week equals 3 actions. Today equals 3 decisions. Because if your vision doesn't turn into daily action, it's just fantasy. Now, let's talk about identity. Billionaires don't chase success. They become the kind of person who attracts it. So here's the final key. Your identity must match your ambition. If you have a billionaire dream but a scarcity identity, it won't stick. If you think like a hustler but dream like a mogul, you'll burn out. So ask yourself this: what does the future version of me believe, do, speak, wear, decide, tolerate? Then, start living from that version now. That's how you collapse time. That's how you accelerate results. That's how you stop waiting for permission. Now, let's get real. There will be days where none of this feels worth it. Days when the vision feels too far, when the doubts get loud, when the results are invisible. And in those moments, most people quit. But the 1%? They remember this: you are not buried, you are being planted. Growth is messy. Progress is invisible. But if you stay consistent, you will rise. Because it's not about motivation, it's about becoming. So here's the final billionaire thought I'll leave you with. Don't just try to get rich. Build a life so powerful, the world can't ignore you. And that starts now. You have the framework. You have the fire. Now it's time to take the first step. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. Write the vision, build the habits, craft the system, lead your emotions, leverage your tools, and never again think like the 99. You're not just chasing money. You're building legacy. You're building impact. You're building a version of yourself the old you never thought possible. Before you leave, comment this and lock it in. I think like the 1%. I move like the 1%. I become the 1%.
Now, go. The next chapter of your life is waiting.